You're joining the Beyond the Harvest value-added organic nutrition with the Western Mass Food Processing Center. And we're glad everybody is here today. This is the third in a four series program, all being recorded. So you may have received the from me last night in the reminder. And this is also being recorded today. And we're hoping that everybody will start to think about what a certified organic product to market. Liz Buxton doing our presentation today, who did the first two presentations, is also joining us from the Western Mass Food Processing Center. So as we get going, if you have a pertinent question that pertains to what Liz has talked in the chat, and we'll see if we can answer that for you. We'll say questions until the end. This program, part of the USDA Organic program sponsor. Nova Mass has been working on top since the beginning of 2023, and we've seen a lot of new farmers get certified with this transition program by having mentors that assist them with their organic practices. This is a processing and value that we can make our product. All up to here, and TOP will end the end of September this year, and a great resource that we have offered you is.
That's me. So I'm Liz Buxton, and I'm the Director of Operations here at the Western Mass Food Processing Center. I've been here since 2013. We certifying products since 2013. So I have been working with organic, all different types of products, some of them value added, some of them not. And I'm going to share with you the path you should be taking to certify your products organic. I'm going to. All right, everyone see that?
It's coming.
It's coming. Is it there?
Here we go.
There we go. So again, this is a 4-part presentations. Kate has done the first two, and I'll do the next two. Kate has already given you a really good foundation on making shelf-stable products, and I guess refrigerated products for sale in all kind of markets. So today we're going to start to dip our toe into organic processing. Kate has done a really great job explaining processing up to here. So we're going to talk about, what does organic mean in processing? Do you need to be certified? We're going to go through some general organic labeling basics. We'll give you an overview of the certification process, and we'll talk a little bit about using shared use kitchens and co-manufacturers. The Western Mass Food Processing Center is a small batch co-manufacturer. So I'm particularly can speak to certifying your product in a shared use or a co-packing situation. We're kind of both a shared use kitchen and a small co-manufacturer. So I should be able to give you a good unique look into that. So Kate has already told you we've gone over FDA labeling and all the regulations. So now I'm going to throw a little wrench in that because the FDA does not regulate the term organic. The USDA does. So the National Organic Program is overseen by the USDA. It's the USDA and NOP that regulates the term organic on food labeling. And so if you're making a food product that would normally be under the FDA's jurisdiction and you want to label it organic, you must now comply with both the USDA National Organic Program regulations and the FDA regulations. So everything that Kate told you is still true, but now there's a whole other things that you're going to have to add to your label or know about to certify your product organic. So this is kind of like organic categories within processing. So you have organic ingredients. Obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory. They should be sourced. They'll be sourced from organic farms, and they're free from prohibited substances. We'll touch a little bit later on about what a prohibited substance is. And then organic processes. Those are the methods used in handling, processing, and manufacturing that prevent contamination and commingling. We'll talk more about commingling next week. To maintain organic integrity. And you're going to hear me say organic integrity a lot, because that's one of the foundational concepts of being certified organic is how do you make sure that the organic integrity of that ingredient and product is maintained throughout the whole cycle in the processing plant from receiving to shipping. And I'll give you an example. If you are a processor that processes both organic and conventional tomatoes, you can't process the organic after the conventional unless you break everything down and clean it. But you can do the organic first and then do the conventional. As long as then after they're processed, you have organic integrity is met. So there's no way that those two products would have commingled in the processing that day. The way we do it here mostly is that if it's organic, that's all we do that day, and that is a good way to preserve the integrity. Organic labeling, and we'll talk more about that, but organic representation of organic content, and you have to adhere to the NOP guidelines for claims. Made with organic, contains organic farm. There's certain things you just can't say on your label. And basically, if you're not certified organic, the only place organic can be on your label is in the ingredient statement. And then they usually don't like it if it's more than 3 items in your ingredient statement and not being certified. And certification ownership. So who's responsible for that organic certificate? The facility itself is not certified organic, but the facility will maintain the organic processing, the organic operationals that need to be done, so that there are no prohibitive substances being used, and organic integrity will be preserved throughout the facility. So the facility is part of the organic process, but the person who's making, or the farm, in most of your cases, they're going to own the organic certificate, okay, for that product. And it says at the bottom, certificate is granted to the processor responsible for the organic integrity of the product, not to the physical facility itself. There's a little difference there. So you want to be organic. You want to make an organic claim, okay? So if you want to make an organic claim, this is the first step, okay? If you don't plan to make an organic claim anywhere on your label besides your ingredients, then you don't have to be certified organic. But again, like I said, the only place it can say organic then is in your ingredient statement. And if you intend to make an organic claim anywhere else on your label, even if you're going to write, Jim's Farm is an organic farm in the foothills of West Virginia, you can't write that on your label. And this is also something that's very interesting, and it has come up more with the FDA products, is if you make a lot of other claims not on your label, but in other literature or handouts, that could go against the NOP regulations. Like if your little label doesn't say certified organic, but everything that you're putting out says we're organic, but you're not certified organic, there could be issues there. So, do y'all want to make certified organic products? I think you do. Okay. So this goes back to identifying the responsible business. So who's buying the ingredients? Okay. In the case of this facility, we kind of have two different bins for that. So most of our clients that we co-manufacture for, they are responsible for buying the ingredients. Okay. And they own the formula. And so who has the authority to approve product labels? Internally. But then, of course, that product label has to be sent to the certifier to be okayed before you start using it. And then, I'm going to talk about traceability a lot. Traceability in organic is even stricter than traceability for the FDA. And so the other bin we have is we have something called value added here. We have a value added product line that we work with farms, and they bring in the main ingredient and we supply the other ingredients. So that product is on both of our organic certificates. So every time, like, we have a one formula for tomato sauce. Okay. And every farm that wants to make organic tomato sauce here, I have to certify separately. Even though the labels are almost the same, the formula is the same, the ingredients are the same, each one has to be. So if I'm working with 10 different farms, I have to certify that tomato sauce 10 different times with the organic certifier. This is something, if you're working with a co-manufacturer, you want to make sure that you're maintaining the records and you have the organic certificate. Like if you're selling it on your farm and a farm stand, you want to make sure that it's on your organic certificate and it's on the co-manufacturer's organic certificate. So if you can answer yes to any of these questions, which if you're going to be producing value added, you are, you have to hold the certificate too. People a lot of times, like, for FDA regulation, like my facility holds the FDA regulation, registration. But for anything organic, it's on my certificate and it's on the farm certificate. There's a differential there, because you just can't certify. You can't just certify the facility organic and say everything that's made there is then organic. It's not. Every single product has to be certified. So this is just another decision tree here. Are you handling, processing, repacking, or relabeling organic ingredients? If yes, you need to be certified. If no, you may not require certification, but you'd want to check with certificate. But if yes, you need to be certified. And that's even, I have an organic ginger farm, and they send me their ginger sometimes to put in a bag and seal and put a label on it. It has to be certified. Even though it's grown organically and we do organic processing here, that repacking of that ingredient requires certification. When in doubt, certify. Okay, so organic ingredients, okay? If you all are organic farms, you understand the definition of organic, but those organic ingredients are grown and handled according to the NOP standards. Okay, so if you're making an organic product and you're going to source from a farm that says they're organic, you want to make sure they're really organic. And we'll talk about the organic integrity database next week. But just because a farm says, oh, we use organic practices, it doesn't mean they're organic. And you cannot use that as an organic ingredient. That farm has to be certified organic. And a lot of times the distributor needs to be certified organic, especially for produce or anything where commingling could happen. Okay, if you're sourcing in an organic tomato paste that's in a number 10 can, there's less worry about it being commingled with conventional. But if you're sourcing in tomatoes, from a distributor or a supplier who also handles conventional tomatoes, well, they need to have an organic integrity program in place, and they need to be certified organic to make sure that that tomato that you get is really organic. Okay. So we talk about prohibited, things basically, and like synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, GMOs. I use this example a lot, is that, when you're working with a co-manufacturer, and I'm not saying co-manufacturers are not on the up and up, but I had a company here that was making a product that spec'd cane sugar. It was one organic, but you'll get the idea. They spec'd cane sugar, and but they weren't buying it. The processor was buying it for them. And they come to find out that that processor had gotten a great deal on beet sugar. That was GMO. They claimed no GMO on there, but the processor was looking to save money. So they substituted that beet sugar because they got a great deal. So this is the kind of thing, like understanding GMO and non-GMO, because if it's organic, it's non-GMO. Okay. Sewage sludge. We want to make sure it doesn't, there's no sewage sludge. God would hope that there's no sewage sludge in any food that we're using. But things like irradiation is also prohibited. Now, that comes up because, I don't know, about 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, there's big recalls of peppercorns. And these peppercorns had, gotten moist at some point. Anyway, and salmonella grew, and people got sick because a lot of times you're adding just pepper to your food without cooking it. So some of the processes now that had raw peppercorns in, the FDA was requiring those to be irradiated or treated before they used them in these dry spice mixes. So that can't be organic. So, we're going to talk a lot about our organic system plan next week, and we're going to talk about certifiers next week. So just having an organic ingredient in your product doesn't make your product organic. And even if you have all organic ingredients in your product, that does not make it organic. It has to be certified. I have an instance of something that happened like the year I took over here, and started talking to organic certifiers. They came, and we were working on certifying some products here, and there was a business here that was making something, and they were using the USDA Organic seal. And they used all organic ingredients. They weren't certified. They got big trouble, let me tell you. But they, in their mind, was, I'm using all organic ingredients, so I'm organic. But you're not. It has to be certified. So processing aids. So processing aids are substances used during manufacturing that don't necessarily end up in the final product. I'll give you some examples. Like, we used to freeze vegetables here using liquid nitrogen. The liquid nitrogen was a processing aid. Okay. Some like filter mediums when you're filtering maple syrup or other things. So they're not ingredients, but if you're going to use processing aids in your process, those have to be allowed, basically. And we'll talk about OMRI, which is another database you can use to find out what's allowed and not allowed as processing aids. Boiler treatment chemicals. If you're in a kitchen that has it's like a steam cabinet, and that steam is created from a boiler, that steam is going to make direct contact with the food. So if there's boiler additives in the boiler, that's making contact with the food. That's a processing aid. So you want to make sure that those boiler additives are OMRI certified. And that when you're doing your organic product profiles, there is a spot that asks for processing aids. I talk about, like, vegetable wash is a processing aid. Okay. it doesn't end up in the final product as an ingredient, but the food is making direct contact with that. So you want to make sure that the vegetable wash you're using is okayed for organic processing. So even though they're not ingredients, they still have to be reviewed. And like if you're like, you have the salesman from, one of your suppliers comes and like, oh, we got this great new vegetable wash, da, da, da. Before you use it, make sure you can if you're certifying organic, because there's certain substances that are not allowed to be used. And let's talk about like pest control. One, if you're in a commercial facility, you're really not allowed to do your own pest control anyway. You have to contract that out. So you want to make sure that you have you need a pest management system, but you want to make sure that the company you go with understands that you'll be processing organic, because there are certain substances that they can't use in the building. And you want to make sure that you have that conversation. And when you do get inspected, the inspector will come and review the binder that the pest control company should be taking, and in that list would be the list of substances that they've applied in and around the building. So you want to make absolutely sure that those are allowed. Most good pest control companies will be able to do that, no problem. So this is more about those prohibited substances that I was just touching on. So unapproved processing aids, sanitizers. Certain sanitizers cannot be used in organic processing. And one of the big ones is quaternary ammonia, which is the most widely used sanitizer in like restaurants, and like college dining halls. You can't use that in organic. Two of the approved sanitizers I know of are sodium hypochlorite, which is bleach, and peracetic acid, which is a combination of acetic acid and hydrogen peroxide. So you want to make sure that the sanitizer you're using to sanitize your hard surfaces and your dishes and your thing are approved. Like there's a 3-compartment sink and you're in a shared kitchen. What sanitizer are they using in that 3rd compartment? Is it quaternary ammonia? Well, it can't be if you're going to be processing organic that day. Things like fumigants, that's such a nice word, but say you're going to import organic, you're going to use some organic flour, and you want this bin, you're going to use this bin to store the flour, and they had pre-treated it with an anti-mold thing, and then you put the flour in there. Well, now your flour has come in contact with a prohibited substance. So, it's not just the ingredients we're talking about, but now we're talking about the whole environment that you're processing those ingredients in. They also have to follow certain rules. So is a key rule of thumb: if it touches the product, touches the process, or the food contact environment, it's important to know. That's why, like, you can't use the quaternary ammonia as a hard surface cleaner, because that is a food contact surface. It may need an organic review. When in doubt, send it to the certifier, get it. Don't use it and then package everything and then find out you're going to have to bring that all back because it really wasn't organic. And again, we'll talk about OMRI next time. That helps you decide if those products are allowed. Oops, I went the wrong way. So here, this is just the core components of organic. We've really touched on ingredients here. What goes into the product, ensuring that it is pure, natural, no GMOs. It's from a certified organic source. And then how the product is made. There's no chance of commingling. There's no chance of it being in contact with prohibited products or prohibited substances. And then labeling. Kate spent a lot of time on labeling the FDA regs. And labeling is very, very important. And there's certain places that the USDA Organic sticker can be on, and certain places it can't, and the certifier has to be on there. It gets pretty complicated. Which is why before you label anything, your label is going to have to go out to the certifier to be approved. Don't say, "Oh, this is good. I got it in the right place," and just label your product, because when the certifier comes and they see that, they're like, "No, it doesn't conform with our rules." Okay, so here are the organic labeling basics. Okay, this is what you can put on your label. So if you use 100% organic on your label, all ingredients must be certified organic, and the USDA seal can be used, and the certifying agent name would be used too. Organic has at least 95% certified organic ingredients. Now, if you are putting something in your product that's not organic, one, you have to kind of say why. Like, if there's just no organic version of this, you can make the case, but it could still be 95%. Everything has to be non-GMO and on the national list. And so the USDA seal and certifying agent name would be on that label. Okay. Made with organic is another claim you can make. Okay. It has to at least be 70% certified organic ingredient. The USDA seal is not, you cannot put the USDA seal on that. Okay. And here it is, can list up to 3 organic ingredients. So USDA organic seal only if it's 95 to 100% organic. Anything less than that, you cannot use that seal. Okay. And then there are specific placement and guidelines about where those seals can go on your label. And then common labeling mistakes I've seen is using the USDA organic seal without being certified organic. Not identifying your certifying agent, and using unapproved ingredients. It's not okay to just this time use the non-organic sugar. Okay. And when you're sourcing organic ingredients for a multi-ingredient item, you want to make sure that you have a main source, and it'd be really good to have a backup source too. Because if you don't, and then you have to sub mountain rose herb oregano for spice sage or organic oregano, like your certifier has to know that, because when they do a trace back, they'd be like, well, this is certified with spice sage and you use mountain rose. Like, where's all that information? Certificate, where's all that information that you could use that? If when you do your organic product profile, you put a main source and a backup source, then you can use either one, as long as they're both certified organic. Just this is written a different way. Again, we talked about this. If it's less than 70% organic, it's not certified organic, and you can only say organic in the ingredient statement. And again, whatever you put on your label, get it approved before you label anything. Label anything. Okay, so shared use kitchens. So shared use kitchens are a different beast. Okay, because like I said, like maybe they're using quat sanitizer as a hard surface sanitizer, and if you're going to be in there processing, you can't use that sanitizer that day, or it'd be better they weren't using that sanitizer at all. So again, the certification is specific to the individual processor. So you're the individual processor in a shared use kitchen. You want to make sure that everything is very well cleaned before you use, like if you're using a chopping machine of some sort and the last person that used it did non-conventional tomatoes or carrots through that, and you're going to do organic, you want to make sure that that is been totally cleaned and sanitized before you use it, because there is the risk of contamination with the conventional product if you don't. Like I said here, the way that we really keep that organic integrity is that if it's organic, that's what we do that day. We're only doing organic. Yesterday we did an organic ginger syrup, and that's all we did. And only organic ingredients in here. And then today we're doing a conventional maple syrup. If you are in a place that you're going to do conventional and organic, the way I always do it here is we do all the organic first and then the conventional. Because the conventional doesn't care if organic gets in it, but organic sure as heck cares if conventional gets in it. We do physically, segregate if we're, have two of the same in the processing floor or in the facility for the day. Everything is clearly marked what's organic and what's not. We have for our receiving, the way that we do receiving is that on the receiving form that something is coming in, it's indicated that that is organic, so that the receiver, whoever receiving it, knows that, and they also make sure that if it's Jim's Organic Farm and I say I'm getting Jim's Organic Farm tomatoes, that Jim's Organic Farm truck pulls up, and we're not mislabeling it with Joe's non-organic farm. And then training. If you are going to have staff or other people working with you, you really want to make sure they understand what organic integrity is and that why it's a big deal. Because, depending on it's just a tomato, who cares? But it's not just a tomato. And you want to make sure that the staff that's working you understands that, this is organic, it has to be kept separate, it has to be processed differently than this tomato over here, which is conventional. Very important. Staffing here. So staff is one of our biggest expenses here. It is our biggest expense here, but it's also our biggest investment, because the more the staff knows, the safer the food is. I can be absolutely positively and that if there's organic in here, it's being handled properly. There's no commingling. There's no risk of contamination. No one's walking around with a bottle of Quat spraying things. So staff and education is very, very important. Again, here I'm going to talk about integrity a lot. Okay. So you're ensuring organic status throughout the supply chain. Okay. I talked about identifying things as organic if they're coming in. We're not a huge facility here, but we might have 10 trucks come to our dock a day. Okay. And 5 of those trucks may have tomatoes. So I want to make sure, absolutely sure, that I've identified which of those are organic and they get marked and kept in a separate area. So there's no risk of those being mistaken for conventional. Again, we talked about definitely sanitation and different cleaning supplies, boiler additives, everything in the facility that you're going to use while you're organic processing has to be allowed. Traceability. Write everything down. I have my little, see if I can see. Did you document it? Did you document that? Okay, so when organic, we're going to use spices as an example. You've got some organic spices. They're from, we're going to say My Spice Sage. They're organic. One, you've already made sure they were organic. When they come in, someone should look at it. It says organic. Okay. The minute it comes into your facility, that lot number needs to be written down. Okay? Because when you produce and you say, I used this lot number of oregano from My Spice Sage, when the inspector comes, they're going to want to see, okay, you got 10 pounds of oregano in, you use 10 pounds in this recipe. They don't want to see you use 12 pounds because where did the other 2 pounds come from? So they're going to want to go back and say, show me this My Spice Sage invoice indicating that this was organic, and you've already checked to make sure they're certified organic, and the lot number that came in. And you can say, okay, here's the lot number that came in, lot number 254. And then when I produced, this was lot number 254. So you can see I got 10 pounds in, I used 10 pounds. There's no other oregano that went into that. And you're going to need to do that for everything. So if you're using tomatoes for your own farm, I process for farms organic, and they send me an invoice for their product that identifies back to their lot tracing what field these tomatoes came out of, what truck they went on, when they came to me, and how many pounds, and as a batch, and I record that throughout the processing. So that when now I have a product with the final batch, I can go back and show that this came in this day from this truck, and it linked to this organic farm. So lot tracking is so important. Again, review and use only approved substitutes for organic integrity. Don't let that salesman sell you a new cleaner or a new sanitizer or anything unless you make sure that it is allowed to be used. Don't find out later, oh, this wasn't allowed to use, or this wasn't allowed to be used in this concentration. Some things are allowed in certain concentrations, but not in others. Things to think about. Commingling. That's my new word. We're going to be commingling. Don't commingle. Don't do it. Make sure that wherever you're processing, that you want to make sure, and if you're in a shared kitchen, you want to be assured that whoever managing that shared kitchen or the storage area is aware of organic integrity. And don't be afraid to wrap it up in pallet wrap and write organic on it. Like, that's okay. Because then there's no doubt, oh, this is organic, I don't want this, or this is what I'm looking for, organic. Again, record keeping, did you document it? Write everything down. Write it down. So having an organic item is not just about or having organic ingredients in it. There's so much more that you will need to keep track of, and you will need to make sure that it legally can be sold as organic. All right. And then we'll talk about, so the processor, so you. So certification, wow, I think I need more coffee. Certification is granted to a specific legal entity, the business, that operates under its own comprehensive organic system plan. Now, the way that we do it for like the value added is like we have an organic system plan for those. And then for my clients, we have an organic system plan that utilizes what we're doing in the facility, so our pest management and chemicals we use. But because they're supplying the ingredients and taking the final product, their organic system plan is specific to them and their products, and their product is on both of our organic certificates. So when you're coming up with your organic system plan, again, this is going to be a lot about traceability. So you want to track the path that food is going to take through the processing plant or through the kitchen, and then labeling and traceability. And multiple businesses can operate within a single facility. This is an example of this. We have 6 or 7 people who process organic, and then of course we do 4 organic items for the value-added product. So the certificate is tied to each of those products and the entire facility, but the entire facility has to be able to comply with organic to be on the organic system plan to make those products organic. You get that? Am I following that? So, liability and enforcement. The gentleman here that was using the USDA seal, I think they took pity on him and he got in big trouble, but I don't think he had too many fines to deal with. But if there's a issue, like a traceability issue, this is why, like, if you're using a co-manufacturer, you want to make sure that they're on the up and up. Because if there's an issue, they're going to come after you too. Because it's your product and you have the certificate for it. So the facility, so if you're in a Sarah Kitchen and the facility and you've certified your product and there's an issue because you couldn't prove that squat wasn't being used or the boiler additive was an accepted thing, like you're the certified business on record, so you're the one that's going to be in trouble. So this is why you just need to be vigilant and don't be scared to ask questions or to check things yourself. Like, what is this boiler additive? Like, is it on the list? It's going to come in contact with my food. This is so you would evaluate now. I don't know how many of you have little processing, facilities maybe on your farm right now. This is just you want to evaluate your facility's ability to meet the organic handling standards. Can you separate organic and conventional? Do you need to, because you're just all organic, so it doesn't matter. Cleaning processes, very important. Traceability. Wait, is anybody taking a tally? How many times Liz does traceability today? Oh, you are? Okay, good. Kate is. Good. Verify that all substances used are approved for organic handling. Be vigilant. Make sure, like, if you're in a shared use kitchen and they change, and before you grab whatever they tell you to use for a sanitizer, you want to make sure that you can use that with organic processing. And record keeping. A lot of your organic inspection will be record keeping. How you are ensuring that organic integrity through the whole process. So if you can't say yes to all of these, when you go back, analyze your gaps and see how you can fix things so that you can do the organic processing. So key considerations, ingredients, basically source them from organic farms, source them from organic distributors, check the organic integrity database that they are certified organic, and they're still certified organic. We just had a client who was using a honey that was certified organic, and the company that was making the honey surrendered their certificate. So they couldn't use the honey anymore. They had to find a different source of honey. You want to make sure, like, all the handling and production methods adhere to the organic guidelines, and then the label. Like I said, don't label anything unless you send it out and get it approved. And that will recognize that the certification applies to the business entity and not the facility. So, where'd you get that picture, Kate? I like that one. All right, so this is just a overview of the certification process, and we'll get more into some of these steps next week. I didn't want your eyes rolling back in your head today, just me talking at you about traceability and documentation all day today. So this is like kind of dipping our toes today. So you want to choose a certifier. And we'll talk about certifiers in the Northeast and nationally next week. Some certifiers will only certify in certain areas. Some will be national. The national ones often are really expensive, and they're big. But we'll talk more about that. You want to make sure that the certifier you choose is, can certify products, not just crops. And then the organic system plan, which we will go over next week. And this is how, basically, you telling the certifier how you're going to ensure organic integrity throughout the whole process in the whole facility. And then you submit all this along with your organic product profiles, which you need to do the organic certificates of those suppliers. You also want to you have to submit your labels for approval at the same time. I think Bay State you have to actually submit an organic integrity plan, like how you're going to prevent from fraud and monitor it to make sure that everything is organic. And then the certifying agent will review all this and say, okay, this looks good. And then they'll set up an actual inspection where they're going to come out, they're going to inspect the facility, they're going to ask to see your pest control, they're going to ask to see your MSD sheets, what chemicals you're using, what is your standard sanitary operation procedures, who does your pest management, where is that log, what chemicals have been used in the past year. They're going to look at the facility itself, make sure that you are basic, like you're logging things. Like they always like, for us, they always look at our temperature logs, like that we actually do log things. And then they'll do the inspection. They will do a traceability traceback. Absolutely, definitely, where they're just going to pick something that you processed organic the last year, and they're going to say, show me the inputs to this, what came in, what the lot numbers were, show me the lot numbers here, and show me where that went. And we'll talk more about kind of like the mass of, ensuring that what came in was processed and what went out matches. You're not trying to hide anything. And then you have to do this annually, every year. So it isn't like, an FDA facility registration where you do it once and then every 3 years you have to renew it, or other things where you do it once and you're done. This has to happen every year, the whole thing. They're making it easier, some certifiers. So, y'all still want to process organic? Yeah? Okay. So I talked at you for almost an hour. Now is your turn. Ask me questions.
I have some questions, Liz. This is Natasha.
Hey, Natasha, how are you?
Very good. Let's start out with, you said bleach, or there was a combination chemical that was hydrogen peroxide and what acid?
Acetic. So it's called peracetic acid. It's a really good vegetable wash, and it also can be used at a higher concentration as a hard surface sanitizer. That is approved for organic processing.
Okay. So is it going to harm stainless steel tables over the long term like bleach does? Because bleach
No.
will pit stainless steel tables.
Oh, I'll put it this way. When I started here, we had sodium hypochlorite bleach, and I switched to peracetic acid because it's less corrosive to stainless than the sodium hypochlorite. The sodium hypochlorite actually ate holes in my sanitation sink.
Yes. Yes.
The difference is cost. Peracetic acid is much more expensive than sodium hypochlorite, which is why a lot of people use sodium hypochlorite, because it's inexpensive. Where the peracetic acid is more expensive. I like the peracetic acid particularly because I can use it as either a vegetable wash at a lower concentration or the hard surface sanitizer at a higher concentration, so I have one chemical here and not two separate ones.
You use that in your third bay also?
Yes.
In a 3-bay sink?
Yep.
Okay. And do you have strips to verify that concentration?
We do have strips. However, they're not as accurate as the ones you use for chlorine, so we actually do a titration to confirm the concentration in the sinks. I went with a company that actually comes and does monthly titrations of all my concentrations and creates a report for me. But the strips, they don't read true. So, we actually, the strip says one thing, but titration says the other. So we know that if the strip says that, it's this. But that took a little while to figure out. But the other thing I like about peracetic acid as a sanitizer is that it's been shown that pathogens do not develop resistance to it, unlike pathogens that can grow resistance to sodium hypochlorite or even quat. That the peracetic acid definitely less resistance. So, I mean, we still do a rotational sanitizer program here. Where quarterly we use a different sanitizer to do a deep clean, just to make sure that we're killing everything. But the parasitic acid
And what do you
is
do for the deep clean?
we use sodium hypochlorite. You know, to like clean the floor drains and everything, just a different.
Okay, my next question is, what do you use for an automatic dish detergent? Specifically, I have a commercial high temp dishwasher.
Yep, we use I forget what it's called. It's a all temp dishwasher, and it is fine because it gets rinsed off. But it's not like Nature's Glow or whatever like that. So
That's a good point. That's comes up often in in inspections is that if you have a low tech commercial dishwasher that's using jet dry, that's not allowed.
yeah,
But
no jet dry.
yeah,
So no rinsing agent, but
No.
the dishwashing detergent itself is fine because it's
Hmm.
rinsed off.
Yep.
Okay.
And I
Um,
mean, it doesn't have any prohibited substance in it anyway. Like it's a pretty mild one.
okay. Um, so you said that you have to do your ingredient a source and a backup. Now, is that the ingredient itself, or is that how you get it? Like, for example, if I'm using Wholesome brand sugar, is my backup Azure organic cane sugar, or is my backup Wholesome brand from another source?
It could be either. Um,
Okay.
I find a lot like especially with organic dried herbs, like I may be getting them from Star West or Mountain Rose, and suddenly they're out of it. So I always make sure I specify like another place I can get that herb. Um, so in that case, it would be the brand and the distributor has changed.
Copy.
This isn't required, but I'm just telling you like a good practice
Right.
for this.
Right. Good manufacturing practices.
Right, because you don't want to tie yourself into one ingredient, and then if it's not there, like it really is a domino effect with the rest of your production. So you want to say like I am going to get it from these two places, and basically with your certifier, certify those two places or brands, so that there's no disruption in your production.
Right. Okay. That's what I have for questions right now. Thank you so much.
No problem. Who else? Come on, hit me. I've had my coffee now. Your kid gets to share an office with me. When you like this to work with this every day. That's why I left like 30 minutes for questions. I thought people would like, no. Jennifer, come on, Jennifer. You've been paying attention.
Yes, and I think that's why I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm sure I'll have more questions.
That's why I kind of like this session was a little more toe dipping and repetitive about like these things I wanted to kind of like drill down. And then next week we'll actually look at some certification paperwork. Like what I'll go a little bit about my handling plans, share those with you. Oh, someone's got their hand up. Yes. Where'd they go?
Hi, my name is Vil Marie.
Oh, hello.
You're probably gonna bring this up. I just want to know, you don't have to answer it if it's gonna be in the next Zoom
That's all
meeting.
right. I like repetitive. We repeat things and then they'll stick better.
Um, so I wanted to know when they certify organic, um, does that require, like, do they test your soil? What are they looking for when not only somebody saying, "Oh, I do this in my garden with no chemicals"? What are some of the specifications they're really looking for when you want to grow or be certified organic?
If you want to grow organic, it's a whole other thing. They will test your soil, and then I think, Laura, you'd be able to answer this better than me. It has to be the field has to be treated organic for 2 or 3 years after it's right before they'll certify
Yes.
it. Yeah.
So
But
yes, they have to be 3 years
yeah.
without any prohibited substances, and they don't automatically test your soil when you apply,
See?
but 5% of all operations of a certifier have to be um, tested for pesticide residues. So that's not usually brand new farms, but existing farms that have their systems in place and or operations that represent sort of red flags.
And as far as processing, getting your ingredients and your raw materials will have to be from certified sources. And we're going to go over the Organic Integrity Database next week, which is your Bible for determining who has those organic certificates and what they have certified organic that you can source.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a couple thoughts that came up while you were talking, Liz. And I'm for those that don't know me, I also am an organic inspector. I've been working for inspectors since 2015, and I do a lot of processing operations inspection, everything from. I think I inspected you guys back maybe 5 or 6 years ago at at your facility.
It's all a blur.
Yeah. But also inspect things like, organic coffee roasters, people that make tortilla chips and tortillas and pizza crusts and bagels and everything in between. And one of the things I see that's normal for people that store lots of ingredients. They're used to sort of storing gluten-free ingredients separately, right? The allergen type of products. And so they do know the drill when it comes to organic. They keep a separate storage area for organic ingredients. That is really helpful to make sure they don't commingle with anything else, especially if they have partial open containers or anything like that. And the other thing I note is that it's really important for them to keep organic above in a warehouse where they have lots of different types of ingredients, to keep the organic ones above the conventional, just in case there's any risk of spillage or leaking or anything else, and it won't contaminate the organic underneath. The other item is that FDA will sometimes require a facility or an operation to register on their online portal. It's not everybody, but oftentimes it is required just as a registration. It's an every 2-year requirement.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, if you're making anything that's going to be over state lines or sold wholesale, you have to register your facility.
Right.
With the FDA. It's a really simple process, but sometimes it just takes you half a day to find out where to go. So.
Yeah. And lastly, I think some people think that they, want to try to process things in a home kitchen. And that is not necessarily an easy route to take, especially with local boards of health, and if your product is a high-risk product. So there are certain products that the certifier will approve on-farm processing, but it's really relegated to things like drying herbs or drying mushrooms, and packaging those sorts of things that are very low risk. So commercial kitchen is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and Kate touched base about the different categories of shelf-stable products, like acidified. Like you can't do that in a home kitchen, and you have to have certain certifications. And like a lot of people don't realize that pickles are certified or acidified, like pickles. But yeah, that's an acidified product. It's highly regulated. So that's why I like these presentations, is that really gave you a good idea what you need to get done for the FDA part of it. And then the organic is just, on top of it in a whole different agency,
I have a quick question. Laura, when you were speaking about the 2-year online registration, were you speaking about the FDA facility registration? Okay.
That's right. That's right.
The bioterrorism, basically. And, the thing that, and Kate touched on this, I know, is like, if you're going to be in your own facility, there's so many other things, like food defense plans and good manufacturing practices and SOPs and SSOPs, and what else do we have? Emergency action plans. And, that's why it's, sometimes for people, who are on a farm, it's might just be easier to find a commercial kitchen to make your product. Also we talked about, like, we do this a lot with farm. Last year was a bumper tomato crop around here. And we had more farms that wanted tomatoes processed than we had processing time. So we actually froze, 7,000 pounds of tomatoes this year, and then processed them off season. And there is a farm around here that's an organic farm, that kind of follows that model. They use their harvesting and farm workers as production workers in the winter, and are therefore able to keep them employed all year round. So when the produce is ripe and ready to be harvested, they actually bring it here and pre-process it, freeze it, and then they process it themselves when we're not harvesting or planting. And that works out great for them, and they can now have a year-round staff. They do several different value-added lines and products. So something to think about too, because I know farmers, when crops need to be harvested, the crops need to be harvested. You don't then have time to process them unless you don't want to sleep. But I think most people want to sleep. Crickets. Well, maybe I just gave you back 20 minutes of your day today then.
If that's the case, Liz, would you mind staying on afterwards and we could set up an appointment time for you and I?
Absolutely.
You're wonderful. Appreciate that.
Keep on saying that. It's good for my self-esteem.
I don't think we're going to let Liz have any more coffee today. I'd have to cut you off.
I'm just curious for next week, Liz. Are you going to go through a traceback exercise or a mass balance exercise?
I have a mass balance kind of exercise example, and then also traceability.
Perfect.
So, because they're so important. And the mass balance, and also I'm going to go over how to do the product profile, without salt and water, and how that works, and
perfect.
Where to put processing aids, and we'll get more into the.
That's right.
Into the process. But like I said, I didn't want anybody's eyes rolling back on their heads today, so.
That's right. Well, if anybody is interested in TOP, the Transition to Organic Partnership Program, I'm going to put the link in the chat here. that you can sign up for. We're just about finished matching mentors for the year, since this program will be ending in September. But technical assistance is available through September for no charge to you. So that's a good thing, whether you're a farm that wants to transition, or if you are a farm that wants to certify a product, or even a business that doesn't know anything about organic that would like to certify, that TA is available to you. And we hope that you'll join us next week. I will be sending out a copy of the video to everybody, and it'll be available on the NOFAMAS website, YouTube channel. So I'm happy that everybody was here with us, Liz. Thank you so much for your wisdom, and we'll look forward to our last course next week.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Very good.